Hey everybody, this is Juan Jaramillo with Empower Homes team lead here in Greenville, South Carolina. And today we're going to be talking about mastering the art of showings and what all that entails. So, who is this for? So, this is really meant for a training for new agents or growth minded agents. Maybe you're just looking for like a couple nuggets to kind of get to that next level on your showings, or you're a new agent, you don't really know exactly what to expect or how to do, where to even start. So this is where you would start. And also, this is going to be Empower Homes training for any agents that are joining our team. This is going to be a great way for you guys to really get an idea of what showings entails and how to do them the right way, because there is a wrong way, believe it or not. And we'll go over that here in a little bit. So why showings matter. So first impressions make or break a deal. So this really depends, especially for Empower Homes. This You should be doing a buyer consult first. Please, for the love of God, please do a buyer consult first. However, there are situations that doing a or meeting the person for the first time at a showing makes sense. And what are those situations? That's why you're watching this video. The nuances. The situation is, if you guys have access to Zillow leads, a lot of the times they're asking, "Hey, I want to go see XYZ street," and the script should be real quick. Great. When do you want to go see it? Right? You don't want to talk yourself out of an appointment, essentially. So at that point, yeah, go ahead and schedule the appointment and then build that rapport afterwards. Right? The second time is maybe it's an online lead, and again, similar idea with the Zillow lead. They want to go see a home. You haven't met them yet, but they still reached out to you to ask to go see his home. And in South Carolina, you're supposed to get an ERTB signed, an exclusive right to buyer's agreement signed before you go show a home. So you can kind of let them know, hey, I need you to sign this. Maybe we can make it exclusive for this home only. But in order for me to be able to go show you the home, you have to sign this paperwork. That's usually not a big deal. But at that point, again, same idea. You don't want to talk yourself out of an appointment. So go ahead and set the appointment. A couple things to note: whenever you do meet with them at the showing, set that expectation or ask them kind of open-ended questions around how do they know the buying process? Because if they don't and they think the next step is just buying homes, or just seeing homes, if once you go into contract, hopefully you go into contract with them, it is going to be an absolute pain in the ass to work with them because they don't know what to expect. It's going to be extremely stressful. They're not going to have a good experience. And that's what I mean by a pain in the ass to work with them, just to be clear. So go ahead and set that expectation that when you meet with them and you feel like they don't know the process well, go ahead and set that buyer consult with them at the office at a later time, because they're not going to pay attention to what you have to say about the process when they're at the home. Trust me, they don't. They never do. They're more in awe with the home. A well planned showing increases buyers' confidence. So this is quite true in an interesting perspective. So really, what it is a lot of the times buyers, especially first time buyers, they don't really know or think that they can first qualify for a home or find a home that they actually going to fall in love with. And so if they actually end up wanting to go see a home, that timeline tends to shrink a lot quicker, right? So they might say they're 6 months out or 12 months out, but they get a pre-approval and now they're like, oh, you know what, I actually found a couple homes that I might be interested in. All of a sudden they're probably submitting offers in the next month or so. So this part is true. It's very interesting. So it could be a good strategy depending again on what their timeline is and why their timeline is what it is, right? Okay, what else? Helps build rapport and demonstrates professionalism. Showing homes, that's when they really get to know you, specifically those outside of your database, online leads, any kind of other lead source that you got that you can come from, and also referrals. They really start to kind of get to know you because you're starting to spend a lot of time with them when you're showing homes. And so building that rapport during these showings is quite important. And it kind of gives them an idea and starts giving them confidence in you, right, as you're representing them. And it creates urgency and excitement about the home. So, kind of what I was talking to you guys about a couple of points ago, it creates that. I don't know if it creates urgency and excitement. It creates more excitement, in my opinion. It creates more excitement about a home, about buying a home. However, you do want to be careful with this point, and and only because showing homes is exhausting. And that's why, on average, people tend to see 7 to 10 homes before they find the one. Because once you go a little anything north of probably 7 homes, buyers will start, and it's a real thing. Buyers will start having buyer fatigue, and there's certain strategies that we can work on here, and we'll talk about it in a little bit to avoid that. All right, pre-showing preparation. So make sure you confirm the buyer's criteria and check on certain of the details that might not be able to be filtered out. I'll give you a couple examples. So maybe they want 2 bedrooms on the first floor instead of one. I don't know of an MLS, or at least our MLS in Greenville doesn't have a filter for 2 bedrooms on the first floor and then everything else upstairs, right? Unless you do a 1 story, but that's like it's I'm talking about more specific than that, right? And on those, you want to make sure, so they send you the home, right? Or they say, hey, I hearted this home, right? You want to make sure that you actually check to see on the MLS to see if there are actually 2 bedrooms, and then you call that out. This is actually one of the tactics to use so you don't get buyer's fatigue super quickly. Well, not you, but your client, your customer. Is you want to say, hey, you just want to call attention to it. Hey, I noticed that the home only has 1 bedroom in the downstairs instead of three. Is that okay? And as they say, yeah, it's okay. It's worth me because it has everything else that's perfect. Cool, let's go see it. But a lot of times they might not know, and they'll say, oh, it doesn't. That's a deal breaker for me. So definitely keep an eye out on some of your clients' needs, and make sure that the homes that they want to go see have those needs, because you will waste a ton of time, a ton of money, gas money, and time is money. Um, Going to homes that if you would have checked, you could have marked that out of their, out of the filter, right, out of the options because it didn't have what it is that they were looking for. Make sure you schedule appointments efficiently. A lot of the times you'll be looking at homes, not just one, but you'll be looking 3 to 4 or 5 homes in one day because they're super motivated and they fell in love with 5 homes and they just kind of want to go ahead and be efficient with it, right? Make sure you look at the maps. I usually do Google Maps. I pinpoint. This is actually exactly what I do if you want to take notes. I pull up all the homes that they want to see and I put it in Google Maps, and I put it, I think, in the directional thing. Doom, doom, doom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I start messing with it. The cool thing with Google Maps is it tells you how long the route is going to be. The route is going to be. And so I'll go from maybe an hour 15 to 45, and you can kind of see it, how it routes you. And so make sure it's as efficient as possible. And a couple things to keep in mind is, what home do you want to start at? Do you want to start at the home that's furthest away from you? Or do you want to start at the home that's closest to you? And that only matters depending on the drive, right? So if the furthest home away from you is an hour out, you want to keep that in mind whenever you're organizing the route. A couple other things: research each property's details and disclosures. The things I look at and comps. The things I look at in the disclosures is, what's the age of the roof? What's the age of the HVAC? Is there anything weird with the home? Any termite damage? Any other things that they've disclosed that I feel like my client should know about? Obviously, you're going to send it to them anyway, but just a couple red flags, right? A couple things might be, though, they don't know the age of the HVAC. A lot of times that happens, or they don't know the age of the roof. Those could be red flags. For me, all it means is, if they don't know, that's probably the original HVAC or the original roof, unless they bought it within the last 5 years, right? That could be a problem, especially with home insurance nowadays. So something to point out to your clients. And comparables, it's always a good idea just to take a quick glance. Don't take a ton of time. But take a quick glance of the comparables in that neighborhood, just to kind of give you an idea of, okay, is this home going to be, is this properly valued or priced, I should say, or is it super overpriced or underpriced? If it's underpriced, go ahead and let your clients know we're probably going to a bidding war because this is 20K underpriced. If it's well priced, you kind of let them know that, and you have the comps in the back of your mind to let them know, because a lot of times, especially your high C's in the disc assessment, your high C's and potentially your high D's are going to want to know what your comparables are. Okay. Verifying showing instructions. This is pretty important, especially because not all the time the super box or the lock box, the combination code is in the front door because it's not able to be in the front door. Sometimes it's going to be in the back door. Sometimes it's going to be in some kind of light post. So verify that so you don't show up and you take 10 minutes looking for it. Another quick thing with this is make sure your Supra app is updated because they update it quite often. And the last thing you want to do, it's happened to me a couple times. Last thing you want to do is show up and just wait for the update or show up, which is be ready also showing up. Depends on how long you do this. Showing up and there just being a tech issue. So know where to find that contact information for Supra. They're usually really good um, in communicating and fixing issues, but just an FYI. So be ready for that. And it's not a bad idea if you get there early to go ahead and try out and just go ahead and get the key so that when your clients get there, you're in and out. And reach out to a listing agent with any questions. If you feel like this is going to be a home, it's probably good practice for every showing, but I know sometimes it's like 8 showings. So I totally get it. But if you feel like of one of those 8, or it's just a couple showings, you really think this kind of hits everything that your client wants, go ahead and reach out to a listing agent. Ask them. And this is the question I love to ask is, what are the things that are important to your seller other than purchase price, right? Most of the time they're going to say purchase price, clean offer, the most net for them. But sometimes it's going to be a flexible closing day is going to be, oh, I need 45 days, not 30 days for them to move out. Oh, I need maybe a week after closing, whatever it might be. And sometimes it just kind of fits your buyer's needs. And that can really help you stand apart and hopefully save your clients some money being able to compete more on the price because you're able to kind of give them something else that's valuable for them, right? And so yeah, reaching out to a listing agent and just building that good rapport is a great idea. Scheduling showings efficiently. Guys, try to always use showing time. And I know I know it's not up to you guys. It's a lot of times it's up to a listing agent if they're putting a showing time or not. Most of the times they do put in a showing time, but try to always use, hopefully you just go ahead and use showing time. Showing time app on your phone, have that downloaded. That's the best app to schedule showings. It used to be another app, but homes.com bought it. I forget what it was called, but showing time app actually is fantastic. You have access, just so you guys know, you have access to the Spartanburg MLS, not just the Greenville MLS, and also the Western MLS on Showing Time. As far as I know, I'm sure there's more than that just in this county, but you don't have to sign into the different MLSs to schedule showing times. Because I know in the Spartanburg MLS, at least through the MLS, it doesn't let you go to the app. But a lot of those homes, instead of calling, a lot of those homes are in the Showing Time app. So go ahead and schedule it through there. Now, if you can't schedule it through there, obviously call a listing agent and schedule it like that. Group showings geographically, kind of how we mentioned a little earlier on how to group the showings, keeping in mind where you're going to end and where you want to start. Sometimes I kind of want to end at the, what am I thinking? Closer to the office because I know I'm going to be exhausted. Maybe it's 6 p.m. and I really don't want to drive an hour back home. So I don't mind maybe earlier on driving an hour and then driving 15 minutes before. So those are just kind of variables to keep in mind. And then confirm times with buyers and set clear expectations. Most of the times, buyers will show up to showings. You don't really need to confirm. Oh, it's a good idea, but you don't need to. Let me see. Remind the buyers about the showing unless you're about maybe more than 2 or 3 days out. However, it is a great, especially if it's your first time meeting with buyers there, go ahead and confirm that. The best way to confirm it with them is do a video text, especially if you've never met them. Go ahead and shoot them a video text. In Power Homes agents, we use Follow Up Boss. You can actually shoot them a video text through Follow Up Boss. And so that's what I would do to actually increase that set to hold ratio. And you stop becoming just a voice on the phone, right? Now they see your face and have a backup plan. So what I meant by this, have a backup plan in case of cancellations. A lot of the times you're going to schedule, let's say 5 showings. Of those 5, maybe you'll have 2 or 3 that are what we call go and show. They're probably vacant, and we just go and see them whenever we want. So be ready if a couple of those don't get approved to go see them. Be ready to kind of play with the route a little bit, especially kind of using those in mind. So I would prioritize scheduling the ones that you kind of that the home is not vacant, that they're not going to show. Prioritize those, and then the other ones within reason in the route, the other ones I would schedule after that. Just because sometimes either you're just kind of banging the showings out, no pun intended, or a lot, or sometimes depending on the buyer, you'll just take forever in showings, and so you're always behind. So you kind of want to show the going shows at the end, because then it's not a big deal how late or early you get there. Best practices for showing day: arrive early to check the property's condition. That's a big one. Sometimes what I've done in the past is I've actually called my client and say, hey, you're not going to like this, especially if I get there like 15, 20 minutes early. Hey, you're not going to like this. You're just going to meet up in the next one. And depending on the trust that they have or the curiosity that they have, if they've already kind of didn't like it to begin with, they were like, maybe we'll give it a chance. I'll save you some time, save your clients time. They'll actually love you for that. Turn on lights, open blinds, and set the welcoming tone. So definitely want to turn on the lights, open blinds. All that just makes the home feel a lot more homey, makes it feel larger, makes it feel more comfortable than just like a dark, cold spot. So if you have the time, definitely do that. It does make a difference. And just remember to turn off the lights and close the blinds. Essentially, put everything back how you saw it after the showing. Don't forget that. It's extremely annoying as a listing agent if you see the lights, if somebody just forgot to turn off the lights, because that's the electric bill for your clients. That sucks. Respect the seller's instructions. You're gonna find some weird instructions. Sometimes it's not common, but sometimes you will. But go ahead and set the expectation and follow the seller's instructions. A lot of the times, especially with sellers have strange instructions, they have cameras in the home, and they will reach out to you because you didn't follow the instructions. It's just not a good reputation to have. All right, how to guide buyers during showings. So let them kind of explore the home, but be ready to provide some insight. So when we enter the home, just kind of give them the beds, baths, and seller's disclosure. Certain topics there. So like age of the roof or things like that. I kind of want to come at it whenever I look at a home is where are the usually the common spots of problematic spots, I should say, right? Where the washer and dryer is, a lot of the times there's leaks there. So I want to go ahead and check that out just to make sure that my client is aware of any problems that there might be with the home that not necessarily makes it a deal breaker, but will definitely affect the negotiations and their plan as to when they buy the home, what they have to do afterwards. Another good common spot to check out is going to be where the toilets are installed. Quite often, especially with homes that are not well maintained, there's quite often a lot of soft spots right where the toilet is at. Not necessarily that they're loose. Most toilets are loose, or that report at least comes out quite often. But that there's soft spots around there. There's probably a leak that caused it, or around the tub, right around the showers. So definitely check that out. Also like to look at the roofs, any discoloration, and if you can, if I do see some kind of discoloration, make sure you wash your hands afterwards. But I actually touch it because a lot of times if it's moist or if it's like a soft or like not hard, not firm, then that could be definitely like an active leak type of situation that you want to go ahead and keep that in mind when you submit the offer, if you submit the offer. Ask open-ended questions to understand their thoughts. You really want to get an idea of what it is that they didn't like about the home, what it is that they did like about the home. A great question to ask might be, what would make this home a 10, right? What would make this home a 10? Or it could be, I usually ask, what did you think about the first floor plan, the second floor plan? What did you not like about the home? So you definitely want to kind of get an idea of why this didn't work out and why it did. And those kind of just provides feedback, especially to continue to see homes that you send them their way. Address concerns and highlight potential solutions. So, kind of back to that topic that we were talking about with the washer and dryer, you kind of want to give them an idea of if you have experience with it, how much potentially it could cost, or at least let them know, hey, I have a great handyman or a great contractor. He can kind of give us a quote to see what it would cost to fix this. And of course, it's going to be a rough estimate, but at least to kind of give them some confidence that we know the people to get that job done. And after the showing, a lot of the times what will happen is they'll ask you, hey, if you can't give me that information, that'll obviously depend on how much that quote is going to be in order to consider that in our offer, right? But is again being resourceful. One of the things too that can come up is if there's no vapor barrier, right? You can say, hey, it's actually not. It actually depends on how to fix it. It's either an easy fix, or sorry, the vapor barrier is actually probably a bad example. The vapor barrier is easy to fix, is how I usually say it, but I definitely recommend them to have one either after closing or require it before closing. What's a good example? Let me think. What's a good example, like an easy solution that not a lot of people would do? I would say, home warranty, right? So, like, if you go into the home and the appliances are extremely old, that's an easy one. For most home warranties cover appliances. I would always ask the seller to pay for it. Obviously, when you negotiate, is at least the initial offer. But that can be what seems like a daunting thing. But you can kind of, because of the experience, you can say, hey, definitely get the home warranty. Even though the fridge is still looking like it's working, since it's so old, the home warranty will at least cover you for the next year. So certain things like that would be a great idea to do. All right, handling buyers' concerns. Common concerns: price, layout, condition, location. So sometimes the price is obviously going to be a concern. Most of the time, we're going to want to negotiate unless it's a highest and best situation. Excuse me. But beforehand, I usually say, especially if this is just closer to the top of their budget, I usually only send them homes if I'm confident that we can negotiate it down. Not usually, always. I always only send people home over their price point if I'm confident we can negotiate the price down, right? So we kind of already set that expectation. The layout, or the condition of the property, a lot of the times you'll have an idea of what it's going to be depending on the pictures, but depending on if they use a photographer or not. But again, it's asking those open-ended questions and then coming up with solutions as to if it's just a simple, like, let's take down this wall. It's a ranch style home. There's always walls in ranch style homes. You take it down, it opens up the whole house. And taking down a wall isn't that expensive as far as I'm concerned. So as long as it's not a low bearing wall, right? So that could be a great way for you to provide value again to your client by the experience and knowledge that you bring to the table, or just thinking kind of outside the box, right? The location is one of those things that my recommendation, especially if they're concerned about the area, or not concerned, because most of the time if they're concerned about the area, they're just going to be out. But if they don't know the area, I'll let them tell them the best times to drive by the area, by the home that you're interested in looking at, is going to be whenever it's raining, or in the evening whenever there's no sun, right? It kind of gives you an idea. Okay, do I feel safe when there's no sun? Are there people walking around? Is it a nice community? Is it well lit up? Those kind of things that there's just no way of knowing until you drive by. And drive by at those certain times. So that's usually what I like to recommend my clients. All right. Use market knowledge to provide data backed answers. So a lot of the times they'll ask, is this a growing area? What are the different projects going on? So you definitely want to keep an eye on those big projects that are going on, like Malden with the stadium, Unity Park, what they're doing with that, how they're expanding it, things like that. Simpsonville, they're expanding that all the time. Greer, how they built the downtown. So you kind of want to have general knowledge. I'll be honest, and this is going to be completely real with you guys. Obviously, you want to be an expert at the market, but you can't know everything about every single house here. So the name of the game is being prepared. Take 30 minutes to an hour to be prepared for the showings that you're about to do in the similar areas around that area, and that's really all I would do, other than obviously you want to be studying the market 30 minutes to an hour every day. Probably just 30 minutes, to be honest, every day. If you do it every day, you're going to be a market expert pretty quickly. All right. Offer alternative solutions. And here's where it comes. Keep in mind, when you submit an offer, you can ask for anything. Anything. Lads, like the only thing that might restrict you is going to be the lender, and as to how many credits you can ask for, how closing cost credits you can ask for. But other than that, I mean, addendums, blah blah blah, anything that you want fixed, do it up front. If you know that they're going to want new windows on the whole house, or it's a deal breaker for them, go ahead and ask for it up front. Don't do it during the due diligence period, because first of all, it's going to feel like to the seller that it's a pivot switch, right? That's not the right terminology, but you guys get what I mean, right? And so you don't want to, hey, I'm going to offer you this 2 weeks later. Hey, I want a 20K discount. You don't want to do that. Just go ahead and do it up front. It would be my recommendation. And it's just addendums. You would just add addendums, make sure everybody's on the same page, and that's actually going to help increase, first of all, your contract to close, and is going to help your experience, your buyer's experience, a lot better. And identify deal breakers versus fixable objections. Kind of what I mentioned earlier in this video. I was kind of getting long, but hopefully we're almost done here. Uh, Deal breaker is going to be keep an eye on the homes when they send it to you, but also whenever you go to see the home. If you see black mold or termite damage, let them know about that, because a lot of the times, unless they're investors, that's a deal breaker for a lot of people, because a lot of times you won't be able to get finance unless the seller's willing to pay for it and fix it. Or also keep in mind, especially for FHA borrowers, is the simple one is like, are there steps going leading to the home outside and there's no railings? That could be an issue. Is there chipped paint everywhere in the home? That's an easy fix. That could be an issue. That's definitely going to come up. Um, is there no what am I thinking, water heater? Is there no heater, sorry, is there no heating system in the home? That's a deal breaker for both FHA and conventional loans, and probably any other traditional loan, to be honest with you guys. So I know for a conventional loan, hear this in Power Homes, is you need to make sure that the home can be heated to at least 65 degrees. At least 65 degrees. That's just about one of the only requirements conventional loans have. You can buy a pretty beat up home with a conventional loan. But with the FHA loan, it's got to be move-in ready. Obviously, talk to your lender. There's a lot of ways to do things to be able to make that home FHA eligible and get to closing. However, you want to make sure that the seller is on board, that the buyer is on board. So whenever you submit the offer, you go under contract, everybody's kind of on the same page and there's no surprises. All right, next steps after showing. So you kind of gather feedback, get an idea of what they thought about the home, kind of what we mentioned earlier, and then start sending them more homes. Review pros and cons with the buyer. And then this is really the deciding factor, right? Is this on the list of homes that they want to submit an offer, or do they want to keep looking? Guys, I've done a ton of transactions with a ton of different buyers. It's very rare the buyer that has a home on the list and actually submits the offer 3 days later. Most of the time, most of the time, buyers are going to walk into a home and say, this is the one, right? Maybe it's between one and two. But most of the time it's going to be, you know, this is the one, let's do it and let's move on. Very rarely is it a list of five and then they can't really choose. And then 3 days later, they finally choose. Very rare that does happen, but, keep that in mind. If the undecided, if undecided, schedule additional showings. Sorry, I couldn't read. Um, you just keep sending them homes. Obviously, keep in mind. So the way I do it, and the way I recommend to do it is, everybody and their mom has a has a filter. So go ahead and set them up with a filter that goes sends it to the email. But in addition to that, I look at homes every day, and if I find something interesting that might sit right outside of their filter, I send it to them, because a lot of the times the opportunity is just right outside of the filters, and I would want to know as a buyer, and so I'm sure most of my clients would want to know as a buyer too. So I just text them those homes so they know that I'm also actively looking. Don't cheat and just click on their filter and then look at it. Like, go above and beyond, and kind of don't take forever. Don't take an hour doing that. We were talking about it with our team literally yesterday. Don't take an hour. I want you to spend more time looking for more clients, obviously. But yeah, take 30 minutes and see what's right outside of their filter, and just text them home if you find something that fits what they're looking for. All right, what are some common mistakes to avoid? Not confirming appointments. Dude, is it embarrassing when you show up to the home and the sellers are still there and you realize that you actually scheduled it for the next day, or you forgot to schedule it, period. Holy crap, dude, that is quite embarrassing. So do yourself a favor, always be a little paranoid about that. Double check that you scheduled it and that it got approved. Okay. Arriving late or unprepared. Make sure you do not arrive late. You better have an extremely good excuse to why you arrive late. One of the things, here's a good practice because it's going to happen, life happens, is if you're arriving late, go ahead and send them a text on your way there with the ETA and apologizing. Hey, I'm so sorry. Just wanted to let you know I'm 5 minutes behind. And anytime, I feel like the motto is anytime there's a problem, you over communicate, right? Anytime there's some kind of bad situation, you over communicate. So that's exactly what you do because arriving late is a bad situation. So you over communicate and let them know, hey, this is what they should be expecting me to get there. Okay, talking too much instead of letting buyers explore. You definitely want to avoid that. I remember having one experience with I got there, I met a client from Zillow, this was a while ago. And she arrived with who I thought was a mom, but it was actually another agent. And this other agent, this was a not a great area in town, and the buyer was a young girl, a young woman. She was maybe 20, 21. And this agent was just selling the living crap out of this house. This house was mid. It was not great, and it's not what the buyer was looking for. But the seller was kind of going above and beyond, and it really looked like, sorry, not the seller, the buyer's agent, the other buyer's agent was really going above and beyond on highlighting the best parts of the home, but avoiding all of the other stuff, all of the other stuff. And that's really what you want to avoid. You want to, again, guys, our job is to be advisors. So you want to come at it with that look. We're not trying to sell them any home specifically. We want them to work with us, and that's really the goal, is building that relationship so that they choose us as advisors. So whenever you look at homes, does it fit what they're looking for? Does it make sense for them and their family to live there per what they've told you, right? They're essentially paying for you, not just your guidance, but also for your professional opinions. So give it to them. And so don't sell them on a home. There is a time and place where, with buyers that are um, more timid, or that's the perfect home, but they're scared to make that decision, and it's usually people are usually scared because of lack of information, right? And so that's your job to kind of get it out of that information that it is that they want, to then give them the confidence, or sometimes that little push, like, hey, this is actually the home. This fits all the boxes. Why are you hesitant? Is actually a great question. Uh, what um, there is a word for it, but essentially, yeah. Why are you? What's your concern? What's your concern about this home? It's a great question to kind of get those objections out on a home that we feel like ticks all their boxes, and a lot of times it's just one box that they haven't noticed that they actually have, that home doesn't fit, and then you can guide them through there. But yeah, you don't want to be that agent that kind of walks them through it. And then ignore body language. You really want to read their body language to see, and it's hard to do depending on obviously the person's personality, but you really want to learn people's body language to see if they like it, if they have any concerns that they might not be telling you because you don't have that proper rapport or trust with them yet. And so those are very important key points to think about whenever you're looking at homes. I will give you one caveat. The one caveat is if they are timid about the home, it's a first time investor, or the seller is still at the home, a lot of the times they'll look for you to guide them through the home. So keep that in mind. That's the one caveat that I can think of. I'm sure you guys can think of some more. All right. Some final thoughts. Showings are more than just opening doors, they're strategic, right? Master showings will help you close more deals and build trust. Very important. It's very important. And then apply these steps to improve efficiency and client experience, right? That's what this is all about. This is about the tiny details. All right, guys, with all that, thank you so much for those who watched the whole video. I appreciate it. I hope you guys got a lot of value from it. And again, if you guys are looking for a team in the upstate area, reach out to us. We're always looking for great people, great talent. And if you're outside of the upstate area, but you're looking for a great brokerage to be part of, a great culture to be part of, let me know. We work with Real Broker, and we love working with them. I'd love to have a conversation to see if that makes sense for you. But in the meantime, please subscribe, comment below if you have any questions. And yeah, it was great. Thank you. Have a good day. Or have a good day. Yeah, have a good day.